Darrian had just moved into his very first apartment, a small but cozy space on the 4th floor. Tired from a long day, he tossed his coat aside and flopped onto his bed, unaware that he wasn't alone in the quiet of his new home. As he settled into sleep, Darrian caught sight of something shifting in the corner of his eye, just beside his bed. Startled, he sat up, his pulse quickening, but when he looked closer, he found nothing, only shadows and silence. A few nights later, while watching a late-night movie, a loud creak came from behind him, sending his heart racing. He spun around, eyes searching the darkened room. No one was there. Yet, the feeling of being watched was undeniable. Darrian lay in bed, his back to the room, trying to sleep, but every time he closed his eyes, he felt that the sensation of unseen eyes locked onto him. Sleep was now a restless, uneasy experience, haunted by that terrible feeling. Days passed, and during the daylight hours, things seemed peaceful, until he glimpsed a small, pale figure, just barely peeking around a doorway. As he turned to face it, the figure vanished, leaving Darrian with a chill that stayed long after. Determined to ignore the strange happenings, Darrian focused on making dinner for his date that evening. The kitchen felt like a safe, warm space, until the sudden buzz from the apartment intercom jolted him from his thoughts. Darrian approached the door, expecting his date, but as he peered through the peephole, his blood ran cold. A small, white figure stared back at him, its face blank and emotionless. He stumbled backward, a shiver crawling up his spine. The buzzer sounded again, louder this time, refusing to stop. Darrian's grip tightened on a kitchen knife as panic set in. What could he do against something that wasn't even human? He realized, perhaps for the first time, that he was utterly alone. With shaking hands, Darrian unlocked the door and flung it open, half expecting to see the figure again. But the hallway was empty, the buzzing had stopped, and silence filled the apartment once more. Relief washed over him, at least for a moment. Darrian awoke in his bed, dazed and confused. How had he ended up back here? The smell of burnt food filled the air, and panic surged as he stumbled to his feet. Something was terribly wrong. Rushing to the kitchen, Darrian found the stove off, though the faint odor of burnt pasta lingered. Someone or something had turned it off after he blacked out. A sense of dread settled deep within him as he realized he wasn't alone. His date burst in, tears in her eyes, explaining how she'd been trying to reach him for hours, buzzing and calling with no response. Darrian could only stand there, stunned, as she told him how she and a neighbor had been pounding on his door, unanswered. A month later, Darrian moved out, leaving the apartment and its ghostly presence behind. As he shut the door for the last time, he felt the weight of something watching him. But this time, he didn't look back.